What is up, chat? How's everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of the TraderPrad Show. You are here for the last episode, sadly, of this week, but don't be worried. We'll be back again next week, as we always do, Monday to Thursday, 8 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. But yes, welcome to another episode. Hopefully, you had a great day on the markets today. Markets were wonderful for the short side, and then they were wonderful for the long side. So you pick whatever side you wanted at the end of the day, and if you had the right time, you were printing money. And there were so many opportunities. Opportunities on the cryptocurrency basket, opportunities on the tech basket, and there were so many chances to trade today. It was good. Markets were great. How did my day go? My went great off the open. I killed it off the open. I was a little upset of not being able to flip the bias on Mara, Coinbase, or Riot go short at any point. I was way too long biased, even though last night we talked about the possibility of a Seldon use event, and that ended up playing out exactly like that. So I'm a little upset at myself, even though I had a great day, right? Even though I had a great day, pretty upset of myself for underperforming, or I guess I shouldn't say underperform, because I performed exactly like I usually would, but not performing better and not being better, not doing better, right? So that was a little upsetting, but hey, that's only areas for us to grow from, right? We understand how the markets move around a little bit better. We kind of saw that play out. We were just deer in the headlights at that moment, but now after seeing how that played out, maybe the next time we see an opportunity like that, we're not just deer in the headlights. We're gonna take advantage of it. Monster sell-off event. The Bears woke up from hibernation, and they started eating Bitcoin. They just started chewing on Bitcoin. They were hungry. In the they need to stay warm somehow in this winter season, right? So they gotta stack up. They gotta stock up. Fill themselves full of belly, and looks like they are filling their belly full of bitcoins at the moment, or at least cryptocurrency positions in general, all getting whacked on the so-called Bitcoin ETF day. So pretty big day in history, I guess. Pretty big day in history over here as to what's going on with Bitcoin, but sad move on the currency stocks itself. But overall, opportunities were there. Hopefully you guys took advantage of that opportunity and then made some money. Tomorrow, it's almost like earning season's back again. Yes, it is back again. We got a bunch of earning stocks coming out tomorrow, starting with banks like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citi, all of which are on our watch list, actually at the top of the watch list. We also got cryptocurrency stocks along with cryptocurrency ETFs, so we'll take a look at a couple of those, see how they're moving around, and a bunch of other stocks that I traded today along with the Magnificent Seven. So we got a decent enough of a watch list. We also have a bunch of stocks that I traded on the day today that I'm more than excited to talk to you about, as to how I killed it on these trades and how I kind of donated half of my day back because of FOMO and because of trying a trade too much and at the wrong time, maybe. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then maybe we can find a video to watch and learn from. If not, we'll just wrap it up for Thursday over here, and wish you guys a wonderful Friday for tomorrow. So let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you have your pens, your notebooks, your popcorn, whatever it is that you bring when you're watching TraderPrad over here, your boy Praddy Daddy, whatever it is that you use while watching me. I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, but get your pens and paper books and pens and papers and pencils and crayons and paint brushes out, and let's start studying. My best trade on the day today, Tesla. So off the open, Tesla, pretty big sell-off over here. Market was flushing, market was going down. I was looking at a couple stocks. It happened to be Mara, Coinbase, Tesla, and a bunch of other buyout positions that I was taking a look at. And Tesla and Mara set up for a pretty damn good trade right off the open for myself. So Mara was getting ready to start breaking out through 28 after obviously the morning initial flush. I flushed into around the 26 area right here, as you guys can see on the left side of the screen. Oh, flush. Oh yeah, if you guys saw that, Blender. I'm trying to learn how to use Blender. But right here, initial flush off the open. After flushing pops up. I missed my entry in these lows, risking that bottom. I missed my entry over there. I was thinking about even throwing some orders. I chickened out. I don't throw orders. I didn't even chase the entry over here. That would have been a monster entry, risking that low, and then I would have been able to add where I did, and you know, got more juice out of the stock. Sadly, I only got to trade the stock over here in the higher end of this range after it popped into 28. There wasn't much size on 28, but there was a little bit of size on 28. We reject 28, we come back, but then after we reject 28, we instantly get bought back up on this position. So that gives me a chance to throw out an order, wait for a fill, which gets filled, and then I'm getting ready to kind of take the breakout of 28. That breakout would happen so quick at that moment that I am too slow to even throw an order to take the breakout. So that ends up being a miss, and the stock just flies off to the north side. It's just a straight rocket ship to $1 per share in the money. So I'm taking my profits at a 1R 2R scalp, and then I'm waiting to see if the stock has a way bigger room in it. I'm going to kind of reactionarily exit this position based on how the stock is trading. So based on that, you know, immediate flush right back to the downside after kind of creating a pocket around here at $29, a lower high coming into play, and then another flush. So that told me, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna move on with this position. I'm gonna punch out, but missing out on the big trade to the downside today. Monster sell off to the downside on MARA. Boy, oh boy, did we screw that trade up. That would have been a monster trade if we shorted it. But we did, however, have a monster trade on board, which was on shorting. Oh, I'm not even showing the screen. Wow, I'm not even showing the screen. Okay, let's go to the screen over here for Mara. There you go. So getting the long over here at the 27.51, I think is where I got long, or 27.55, I forget what it was. But after the morning swing to the downside, getting long over here at 27.55, having the open around, having it run up $1 per share, scalping out, and then reactionary exit on Mara over here. But yeah, missing out the short was very sad, man. Very sad missing out that shoot. Going to the next one though, we caught a beautiful short on Tesla. Tesla was a wonderful gift after the opening swing down 230. Tesla pops back up towards VWAP, starts showing some rejection around VWAP, so I take my first entry. I add on the break of 229 over here, and then I'm basically riding it to the downside and also reacting to see how the stock trades. Maybe it gives me a way bigger move down because the market looked pretty weak off the open. So if the market looked to flush a lot more to the downside, maybe Tesla can give us a 1.5R 2R short to the downside, but ended up not giving us that trade. Later on in the day, I tried that short again to see if Tesla would break the low a day and continue running to the downside. That ended up being a no-go. Just ended up scalping this position over here and being out by the pretty much into the 225 area, which was the low a day over here for Tesla. Overall, monster short for myself. My number one trade today. Just wish that I took a little bit more size. I wish I was maybe also a little bit more active. There was a bunch of other chances where I could have gotten short, and I just gave up on those opportunities because I was being scared of losing money on Tesla, because usually whenever I touch this stock I just lose. But ended up being a good day for me on this one. My number one stock on the day, baby. Unity, we talked about this stock quite a bit in the last few days. Today it pushes into yesterday's low, which was also the day before that low, and the low over here breaking with the way the market was selling off. It was also consolidated right before that low in front of 35.50. It opened up, consolidated, broke down, and then consolidated again, and then was getting ready to break that low again with how the market was getting ready to break the day's low itself. So all things combined, I figured, you know, Unity at this level could give us a monster short, and it ended up giving us that short. Got short, had the risk above the high of this range, never really had to worry on the swing down, and you know, took profits on the way down and the reactionary exit over here because the stock really didn't want to go too much lower than that. And afterwards, after punching out the short, I'm now flipping to the long side, but the long didn't really end up giving me too much juice, so I end up getting stopped out on the last few shares over here. that stop was a little inappropriate. I kind of just punched out of that stock because I don't want to give it all the way to the downside. But if I had I given it all the way to the downside over there, I wouldn't have gone stopped out, and I would have been able to punch out of this position on a pop back up into this area. But I just punch out manually, losing a little bit on the last few shares, but I already made some profits, I guess, on the first few shares. So it kind of ends up being a nothing burger trade over here. Later on, I try a short. I try to add to that short on somewhat of a lower day break. It wasn't really a lower day break. I tried to get cute with it. I tried to get a better price before it actually went for the lower day, but after I got in, it just consolidated and this trade did not look good at all. So I just punch out of the trade completely, because I have seen Unity do this exact same thing not too long ago. If you go to the 5-minute chart on Unity, as you guys can see right here on this day, it flushed and then just traded sideways all day. So I expected, it is very much possible for the stock to just flush and just trade sideways all day, and it did exactly that. So tomorrow maybe we get a repeat of something of this day over here, where the stock opens, flushes into today's low, holds today's low, and then rips all the way back up to the north side, which is exactly what it did on this day. It held this day's low, and it basically ripped all the way back into this day's high the very next day. So Unity, will be watching this one. It's on the watch list. I'm excited to see how this one ends up coming up for us, especially with how the market reversed today. It's a little bullish. It's a little bullish because buyers were still there even after the way the market got slapped. My next position over here that I want to show you guys, Netflix. Netflix broke 500, ran up to the north side. 503 came into play. I tried to see if there was an area for us to try longs on the dips. I do get into the dip, but then the dip doesn't really have too much buying pressure coming into play. I first get stopped out, then I emotionally get back into the position. I see the stock going back into VWAP but struggling at VWAP, so I just punch out of the trade, end up making the stock a nothing burger. I think I'm basically flat on the stock, or instead I make some dollars. I think barely any money on this position. Just happy that it's not a negative trade. It could have very easily been negative, because look how big of a move comes into the stock right into the next 2 minutes after where I punch out. If I was trying to juice this position, if I was trying to look for a bigger move out of the stock, I would have easily gotten burnt on this trade over here. But yeah, I'm pretty glad to make that read right off the bat. It was an emotional entry. It's not going higher than VWAP. Let's try and juice it. Yeah, it broke 500, but so did a lot of other stocks. Took out some good levels, and the market's flushing, so there's a big chance that this one flushes along with the rest of the market. So stay away from it, and I made that right call. Ended up turning a loser to a winner and walked away from the stock. Whew, what a genius call I made on that moment. All right, here is PagerDuty. So PagerDuty, you guys remember how bullish I was on this stock yesterday, right? We were pretty excited to see how the stock does into this 26 to 25.95 area. Right off the open, it kind of holds above 26, flushes below 26 to 25.95, but then holds 25.95 pretty successfully, and then pops up. So I try a long in this range low with the stop under 29.95, which gets triggered. Sadly, the stock flushes into yesterday's VWAP, holds yesterday's VWAP, and then runs back up to the north side with a good amount of buying coming in. Had I been watching the stock after my loss, I probably would have tried to get long after it held yesterday's VWAP, but missing out on that opportunity. It was a perfect day 2 long kind of setup, right? You wait for yesterday's VWAP come into play. Yesterday's move was a monster move. It held yesterday's VWAP, and then it starts going back up north. So missed out on that trade. I think we focused on this daily level way too much, as we always do. We focus on these levels way too much. At least that's what my manager keeps telling me, that you need to, use patterns and other concepts to trade along with it. And why is this daily level so important, especially after the stock clearly making a much bigger move than, or not much bigger, but at least another 50-point move past this daily level, right? So it had a little bit of a variance, a little bit of a room, I guess. This is all hindsight talk. Everything just sounds genius in hindsight, obviously, but at that moment I wasn't really expecting that. The stock managed to rip to the north side after holding yesterday's VWAP. So successful hold on that and then move back up north. Overall, inside day based on yesterday's candle. The stock is still a little bullish in my opinion. I'm waiting to see what happens back into this 26 area. Maybe we get to find a trade on this later on tomorrow, especially if the market's looking bullish again, ladies and gentlemen. The way the market bounced today, buyers are still there. Buyers are still there. Now I think start coming the losers. Yeah, now the losers start coming into the conversation. The first loser on board, Microsoft. I tried a small little long. Microsoft recently took out the all-time high. Microsoft also ended up being more valuable than Apple today. It ended up overtaking Apple as the most valuable company in the world. So shout out to Microsoft over there. On a pullback, I tried to see if there was any long opportunities with a tight stop. I didn't want to give it too much risk. That stop ended up blowing. Microsoft did make a pop and then a bigger flush to the downside. I wish I was watching it at that moment. I wasn't. I think I was too busy looking at other positions. That would have been an opportunity to get short. This was the same time, I think, if I remember, where QQQ pops up and QQQ clearly rejects its VWAP also and flushes to the downside. So missing out on that opportunity over there was pretty sad. Because the market sold off pretty badly. So missing out on those short opportunities, I try to force a short opportunity somewhere around yesterday's low over here on Chewy. Yesterday's low was 1977 if I remember correctly. So I'm trying to start a small position over here with a stop around 20. It looks like it's breaking yesterday's low, which it successfully did, but then this happened to be exactly the pre-market low, and it ended up bouncing from pre-market low and going right back into 1980, 1990. I was honestly going to hold the stock all the way back to $20 and give it that full $20 risk, but my manager thankfully stepped in and he's like, Prad, this is not the right trade, dude. You're just gonna burn money on this. You already had a good day. Don't give back your whole day on stupid trades like this. Close this position. Well, he didn't verbally say close this position. He was like explaining it to me, saying, why is this a short? Why does this trade make sense? Can you tell me why this trade makes sense? If it does, obviously hold it. But he was kind of walking me through it, holding my hand through it, telling me, hey, like, this is probably not a right trade. You should close it. So I took the hint. I got the idea. I understood what he was explaining to me also. So I took the hint and I closed the position. As you can see, I was still being a little hesitant to close it because I didn't close the trade completely. I closed it in 2 different lots. Still trying to work with the trade a little bit, but eventually understanding that no, this is not the right trade to be in. And whatever money that I'm burning on it right now, just burn it, walk away from it, and see if you can make some money elsewhere on the stock market. Just look for that one good trade. Shout out to Mr. Bellafiore from SMB Capital. Okay, the next loss on the day for me, Riot. So after I missed that breakout of 28 on Mara, even though I had the long on Mara, which I traded, I missed the breakout exit or entry, of the 28. So missing out the breakout of 28, I immediately pull up Riot and I try to see if there's somewhere of a dip that I can buy into on Riot. I try a small long with the quick stop, but noticing how Mara is flushing, noticing how Coinbase is flushing, I immediately just jump out of this trade because it's not looking good. If they're not holding, this is for sure not holding, because Riot's usually the lagger of these cryptocurrency stocks. So just punching out this one as soon as possible. Then tried a little Bella scalp trade over here. For those of you guys know from yesterday, that one immediately failed. Break a low a day. I had a level on the daily chart, as you guys can see right here on this chart. That green line at the bottom is around $12.90. I was talking to Dieter. I was telling Dieter, this is probably not the long right now, but afterwards the stock pops back up above this little low, making this little low and then popping back up. That low was at $13.11. So after the trend line breaks, I try the long, I get stopped out on the break a low. Then I start getting into a little bit of a different mindset. Now I'm like, okay, that's the low, 13.11. Let's try a long over here and risk right back into this low. But I see that, the stock's not really having any buying pressure at all. It's just getting pummeled on any sort of pops to the north side into 1350, 1360. So I'm actively managing this position. I'm getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out. Very emotional at these entries. Later on, I just punch out, obviously, not willing to give it the full risk that I wanted to, and I tell myself, or at least I'm talking to Dieter on Discord messages, and I tell Dieter, I go, the stock looks way better when it goes into 13, breaks 13, creates somewhat of a bottom under 13, and then traps the shorts, then looks for a long past that. Ended up actually setting up perfectly like that. It breaks 13, goes a little bit under 13, but pops right back up. I try a long, I get stopped out. Eventually does that one more time, so I get back into the long, and then I try to work this area a little bit, but then I just run out of patience on that one. That trade ends up working. Later on in the day. If you guys see right over here, you end up getting a little bit of a pop into 1350 and 1360. You're basically long around $13. That trade ends up working, but having to being too emotional and noticing myself being too emotional and also bleeding some money and giving back like 50% of the day that I made started triggering more emotional trading responses. So I figured, none of these decisions am I making logically. I'm just being like a little baby about it. I'm just going to make the right call and close shop for the day. I'm going to log out and be done and walk out. So these were basically the last few trades for me. But here's a quick little loss on UPST way before all the losses on Riot came in. But this was one of my worst trade on the day today. It happened to be on UPST. It was once again trying to take this Bella scalp trade kind of idea, but not really doing it the right way. The trend line's actually somewhere over here, and that big green candle that comes into the stock right around over here bounces off of a significant daily chart level of right here. Where is that? 3270. So bouncing off a pretty significant daily level, 3270. You can see how we just created that low not too long ago at that 3270 area. The stock has shown pretty good buying in front of 3270 for the past few days. Today, diving into 3270 and bouncing right before 3270. A big amount of buying comes into that price, and the stock pushes up. I am way too hesitant to look for the long on the original push up. I'm looking for the long on the dips, and that's where I get trapped into this position. The stock immediately rejects the 9 SMA and starts flushing down. I'm seeing it reject the 9 SMA. I'm not having fun. I'm getting a little worried, so I'm getting ready to just punch out of this trade even before it breaks the lower day. So I take some size out before it goes into the lower day, then I take some more size out. I see it now holding after breaking 3270. Right after breaking 3270, trapping the shorts, trapping the longs, whatever the traps are, I see it pushing back up, and now I'm being emotional again. So I punch back in. I go, nope, you're not gonna get me. I want my money back. So I'm getting back into this trade, and I'm just giving the stop over here right under this low. My usual limit or rule is 3 and done. I have 3 tries. Over here, I tried twice, and I say, okay, Prad, you're just being an absolute idiot. Walk away from this trade. Later on, it does give you the long that you're looking for, Prad, at 3270 when it does come back and hold. And even when the 9 SMA and the 20 SMA cross over, that's an even better signal. That's a signal that you usually look for. Had you hadn't got long over there at 3270 with the risk at low a day, what was the reward? Pretty much 3350. It was kind of like a 50-50 1R trade, so not like an A+ trade that comes in, but you were able to take advantage of that trade. Maybe UPST went higher than that. No, it didn't. Yeah, it basically just died off over there. Let's see how much R that actually was. Let's calculate that real quick. Okay, let's say you get in somewhere long over there. Your stop is somewhere over here, and your profits are somewhere in these ranges. So you get just about 2R out of it. So not a 1R trade, just about 2R. But the way you exit, most likely you would have taken like about 1.5, 1.3R out of it. Still good. It doesn't make it an A+ trade. but makes it at least like a A-, B+ type of trade. If you get in somewhere around these areas after the 9 and the 20 SMA start merging, start crossing over, you start seeing a higher low, higher high coming into play, a little bit of a head and shoulders, you could always say, left shoulder, right shoulder, head, or sorry, inverse head and shoulders, which should be a move back up north, and you do get that move back up north kinda. But I'm just kind of looking at this nice little long that the stock gives you off the low, which I fumbled the bag on because I start trading a little emotionally on this one. Overall, pretty good day for me. Riot UPST ended up being my biggest damage on the day and ended up being my 50% donation back to the market. You know, it's always a give and take. It's always a give and take with the market, especially with me. I usually make money in the morning and then I'm spending the rest of the day just donating the money back. I'm like, oh, thank you for the day today. Here's a gift for you. Oh, thank you for that awesome gift in the morning. Here's a gift for you. So it's just like I'm just donating money back to them after they give me the donations off the open. It's a pretty stupid trading from me every single day, but we shall fix it, right? We should get better 1% every day. That's the goal, baby. That's the goal. Now let's go see what the chat's saying. Emotions are 1/2 of your belief. Which direction your long or short trade will go is the second. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get what you're saying with that. Angry Buddha, what's up, brother? Good to see you in the chat. Welcome. Hopefully everyone is here, locked and loaded for the next part of the stream, which is looking at our wonderful watch list. Let me just show you guys what the watch list looks like today, starting with obviously bank stocks, cryptocurrency stocks in there with a couple cryptocurrency ETFs, some other movers that I noticed today also on the watch list, the Magnificent Seven, and obviously the big 3 ETFs that I like to look at, the QQQ, the S&P 500, and the IWM. We'll take a look at all of this real quick, but I'm going to quickly go blow my nose out before we start looking at this watch list. And in that meantime, I want to play an advertisement. So be right back, chat. Hey, you there. Yeah, you with the Manscaped shirt. Are you tired of decoding the stock market? Are you looking like this guy, always lost after every single day? Well, look no further. Today, we got a brand new offer for you from TraderSync. This software will help you identify exactly where you're losing, where you're winning, and how to maximize your profits. Use code PRAD15 at the checkout. If you start journaling your trades, you will start trading better, and you will start looking like this guy. So what are you waiting for? Go on out there, go get yourself a TraderSync discount, use code PRAD15, and they also have a Black Friday sale going on with 65% off. Don't be late. Welcome back. All right, that was perfectly timed somehow. I finished blowing my nose. My nose feels a little bit better. I can breathe through it. All right. What's the next game plan? The game plan is to take a look at all the watch list stocks, starting with some of the earnings movers such as JPM. JPM announcing earnings tomorrow pre-market, along with a bunch of other banks, so JPM, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, BlackRock, which is like a $700 stock, so obviously we're not taking a look at that. UNH also in there. I keep forgetting if UNH is actually a bank or is it like a health services company. It is a health service company. It's also a $500 stock with decent amount of volume, so maybe we could take a look at this one. But yeah, usually on the bank's earnings day, which is always a Friday, I just ignore UNH and BlackRock. They're just way too of a notional value, which is the dollar price of the stock, way too high of a notional value, and the spread sometimes could be crazy on these positions. So I'm just going to kind of put it on the back burner when it comes to these stocks, and we'll just talk about the other ones instead, starting with JP Morgan. JP Morgan has been on somewhat of a heater, to say the least, recently, pushing all the way back into, I think, all-time highs. Yeah, pretty much into all-time highs, making a new all-time high today. Okay, I see you making a new all-time high today, basically peaking above the previous all-time high, very, very slightly to the north side, looking like we could get a breakout of that level, maybe go much higher than that. Wait, was that not today? Oh, well, what day was this? Oh, that was on the monthly chart. That's why it looked like today. Okay, yeah, it wasn't today. Sorry, I apologize. But recently, not too long ago, on the 4th of January and on the 5th of January, we kind of broke out an all-time high over here, but failed to break out an all-time high and came right back to the south side. I guess a little bit of what the market has been doing has been affecting JP Morgan, not allowing it to go higher. I've been thinking about this, right? Like these banks, JP Morgan, BlackRock, I don't think BlackRock's a bank, but you get what I'm saying, right? Banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they're all going to eventually start teaming up with Coinbase to facilitate cryptocurrencies. Isn't that going to bring in more money for these banks now? Isn't that a bullish indication for like all these banks all of a sudden? So I was thinking if there's some sort of a secondary long over here once these cryptocurrencies are moving up for these banks to move up too. It's just something that I was thinking in the back of my head. No idea if there's any sort of a relation with this idea overall. I haven't back tested it. It's just a theory that I'm floating in my head that I came up with today, and I'm just speaking about it right now, so it could completely be bogus. But talking about purely the trade that we're seeing at the moment, this is a earnings play coming out tomorrow pre-market. So not really sure what to expect from this one. Actually, you know what, we could do this real quick. Let's go to one of my trusted friends, Options AI. Let me log in real quick on this website if I remember correctly what my password is. Come on, come on, come on. Is that my password? Is that my password? Is that my password? It is. All right. So we're going to log in quickly into Options AI over here and go to, what was the stock that we're typing? JPM. And see what the expected moves are for these positions for tomorrow's earnings play. Earnings. So there we go. Bang. Okay, awesome. Expected move is about 2.5% coming in for JP Morgan. Previous earnings called, they moved about 7, 0.6 and 1.5 previously. So now for this earnings call, we're waiting to see how they would kind of play out. Usually they have, oh, there you go. This is right here. Let's go to 1 day. Do you have a 1 day expectation? No 1 day expected move. I guess you only do 1 week expected move because options are kind of more weeklies. I guess they're not doing dailies, right? But that's a 4.5%. So if there we go, 2.5% move. They're expecting about a move up to 174.50s or a down move to 165s, 167s over here off the earnings catalyst, and then maybe a bigger move for us to kind of jump into for the short side or the long side. JP Morgan over here kind of obviously into the all-time high area. So on the positive earnings report, much higher than the current all-time high, and on the negative earnings report, probably a beautiful short right back to the downside. Here is the previous earnings anchored VWAP at 154. The stock has been on a clear trend line. If we were to draw that trend line, let's see how the trend line break would look. Looks like we're actually breaking that trend line right now. So either the stock comes out with a positive earnings report and gets back on track with this trend, or it just comes out with a negative earnings report and starts making a trend to the downside. So watching for somewhat of that action coming out to play tomorrow. I'm very interested to see how JP Morgan sets up. This is actually pretty cool because I did not know JP Morgan was at all-time high. In that case, are the other banks are at all-time high also or not? Before we go to Bank of America, I want to go see where TD Bank is. Okay, good. I made the right decision of taking profits on my TD Bank. I no longer hold TD Bank in my account, so I made the right decision taking profits over there. All right, so from JP Morgan, I was going to go to Bank of America. So let's go to BAC, see where this one is. I know for a fact Bank of America is not at all-time highs. Yeah, for sure not. But it has been also on a pretty good move to the north side so far. Right now, holding off in this beautiful range. The range low somewhere around 32.50s all the way way up to $34, even $35 peak over here coming in on the 5th of January. So on a positive earnings report, let's go see what the expected moves are coming in from our friends over here at Options AI. Whoa. So for Bank of America, they're expecting a little bit of a bigger move than JP Morgan, about a 3.1%. So a move up to 34.18 or a move down to $32 over here on BAC. $32 happens to be right into the gap close to the downside over here, or $34, which is what we just called out not too long ago. I think, however, if the stock is going to 34, we're just going to go to 34.70 and 35. Why not, right? So we'll be watching for those type of moves. Right now, I'm not really putting any notes for these stocks because I'm going to be putting notes in them for pre-market and kind of looking for what stock is more important for me in pre-market, especially for these earnings plays that happen in pre-market. They have earnings calls, and you have to be careful to not get trapped into these trades when the earnings calls are happening. Usually the stock could be going into a certain direction based off the earnings report, but the earnings call could easily start a complete different trend on the stock, and you can get caught off guard very quickly. And I'm only saying this because this happened to me twice last earnings season, trading stocks in pre-market that had earnings pre-market, not knowing what times they had their earnings. So for that, let's not knowing what times they had their earnings call. So to fix that problem, we came up with a little bit of a research website that we found. So let's go quickly find out what time JP Morgan has its earnings call tomorrow. Calendar. Earnings call 8:30, perfect. That means usually they'll be done by 9:30. That's the good part about the banks. The banks usually have it early in the morning, and they're done by 9:30. They don't mess with it. It's usually those secondary companies like Colgate or some sort of a boomer stock. They come out with earnings in pre-market and they have earnings call at like 11 o'clock. It's like, dude, come on, you're a lazy CEO at that point, right? But no, banks are good. I'm pretty sure Bank of America is kind of the same thing over here. Close this bad boy, go to Bank of America, click on calendar. Hello, go back, close that, click on calendar. Okay, they want to play games, then I'll play games. I'm just gonna open up a new instance. Haha, what now, son? Bank of America, calendar. Earnings call, see, 11 a.m. Damn, their earnings release is at 6:45, but lazy bastard over here for Bank of America, he's gonna have his earnings call at 11 a.m. whereas JP Morgan is at 8:30. Even that's good for us because JP Morgan is a way better level anyway. So screw Bank of America. Let's go see where Wells Fargo, the next stock that has its earnings call tomorrow in the morning, announces their don't do this to me. What time is their earnings call? 7 a.m. Sorry, 10 a.m. Lazy bastards. All right, 10 a.m. for Wells Fargo. I'm just going to put it in my notes over here real quick. 10 a.m. conference call. 10 a.m. conference call. 11 a.m. conference call. JP Morgan. I don't need to worry about it, but I'll just put it in my notes. 8:30 a.m. conference call. The next stock was Citigroup. Let's go see what time Citigroup is. I'll be favoring stocks that will basically have their conference call earlier than 9:30. I'll be favoring stocks that will be having their earnings call earlier than 9:30. This one's at 12. Yo, I thought banks usually are good. I was 100% wrong on this. I was so wrong. What is going on over here? Usually they have it early. Let's go to the next one, which is Delta Airlines. This is going to be a problem for us now. It's going to make us sign in and pay for it. So instead of doing that, we're just going to open a new instance of incognito. Next was Delta Airlines. So yeah, Delta Airlines calendar. What time is your conference call? 10 a.m. Come on, that's not fun. But hey, now that we know what time these calls are, we can kind of keep an eye out at these times for some sort of a reversal or some sort of a continuation of the trend that the stock's already in. off the opening drive. So I'll be ready for something like that at 10 a.m. on Delta, at 11 a.m. on Bank of America, at 10 a.m. on Wells Fargo, at 12 p.m. on Citigroup, right? So kind of keeping an eye out at those times on those stocks. UNH, I said I'm not going to really worry about it. I'm going to delete it from my watch list. And then the next few stocks that we have are not earnings plays as well, so we don't have to do any more research on that side. So that research is done. Now showing you the charts again. Bank of America holding off in this beautiful range at the moment. Would love to see how the stock moves around after the earnings report comes out. Let's go take a quick look at Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo looks pretty similar to Bank of America over there. Very, very similar to Bank of America. Let's go see what our friends at Options AI are expecting the moves to be for. Oh, don't say that. Let's go see what our friends at Options AI are expecting the earnings move to come out for these bad boys, and they're expecting a 2.8% move, basically a high of 50.40 or a low of 47.60 coming into play. 47.60 once again, basically the gap close like Bank of America, and 50 highs, right? Basically this double top high expected on the earnings move, and then maybe a breakout of that, maybe a reject of this area and a short back down. All of these levels, once again, I'll kind of put it into my notes in pre-market, seeing what stock is more doing more volume, what stock is kind of shown better reports, and what stock is really being relative volumized by the market, right? Did I say market? What stock is being more relative? What stock is bringing more relative volume in the market? Now that we kind of took a quick little look at all these earnings plays, real quick look at Citigroup too. Citigroup is a lot much like JP Morgan in terms of its trajectory and how it's behaving. So maybe if you want to pair trade two bank stocks together, Bank of America and Wells Fargo look very similar. JP Morgan and Citigroup look very similar. So if you want to pair trade two bank stocks at the same time, especially if they have the same earnings report, you can kind of trade JP Morgan and Citi together. They look very similar right off the bat on the daily charts. Although JP Morgan is at all-time highs and Citigroup is nowhere close to that, just on the recent trajectory path that these both have been on, JP Morgan and Citigroup look pretty much the same, whereas Bank of America and Wells Fargo look pretty much the same to me. Now, let's go to the fun stocks, ladies and gentlemen. This is where all the fun is once again going to be tomorrow, or no fun at all. No fun at all, or all the fun like there was today. Let's take a look at our cryptocurrency basket. Bitcoin kind of sold off. Kinda, right? It did sell off pretty hard to the downside. Look at that support area. I mean, I drew this line like how many days ago? Pretty much on stream, pretty long ago. But beautiful hold of that support area today. If you were trading crypto on my trading lines, you would have basically been able to pinpoint the exact bottom and then hold that level for a long if you wanted to. You know, yeah, I'm just saying. But crypto almost got to 50,000 today. 50,000 monster level. We almost got to 50k, just shy of it. Stocks like GBTC, which was previously, I thought, on the OTC market, but now successfully after the ETF approval from Gary Gensler and the other committee and so on. Why is that there? You should be here. From Gary Gensler and the committee, GBTC is now on the stock market on the Arca exchange. On the Arca exchange, trading around $40-50 over here. So a little bit of an original move to the north side. GBTC is actually going to track Bitcoin very closely. So if you want to trade Bitcoin instead of directly trading Bitcoin, and if you want to trade Bitcoin on the stock market, GBTC is your friend. Back in the day, GBTC, when it was on the OTC markets, that's when I used to remember trading it. This stock used to be crazy to trade on the OTC markets. We used to have so much fun trading this one on the OTC markets, but now that it's on this market, it kind of changes the game a little bit, right? Now there's going to be more gateways. You can kind of actually trust the size on the book, and the fills are going to be more legitimate instead of the fills on OTC, where sometimes you just get crazy fills all over the place. So this is going to be a little bit more fun. You could use websites like where is it? You could use websites like aggr.trade. Where is aggr.trade? I should have. There you go. You could use websites like aggr.trade to help you see what the time of sales of Bitcoin is looking like. For me, in my opinion, looking at the time of sales on GBTC is not that informative for you. It doesn't have that much information for you compared to looking at the time of sales of actually Bitcoin, because it's going to track Bitcoin. It is going to track Bitcoin. You could basically do this also. Let me just put in that right there. And you can see that move, right? Open, flush, hold, continue. Exact same move. And if you don't want to have Bitcoin chart on a different thing, you can just put it into your chart. I'm pretty sure most charting tools will allow you to do this, which is just add in another symbol right on top of the current symbol that you're watching, and you'll be able to watch both of them at the same time. GBTC, Bitcoin, pretty good stocks to, or pretty good pairing over there to track. Whereas Coinbase, sometimes they can move crazily within itself without even having to do with what Bitcoin is doing. Sometimes they will move with what Bitcoin is doing. The other cryptocurrency ETF is now IBIT, which is iShares, whatever, pretty much the exact same move as Bitcoin. Once again, it's going to look like BTC, it's going to look like GBTC. I just want to see which one has more volume. In my opinion, GBTC will have more volume for at least the starting few days and weeks, but then later on, do these ETFs kind of take over on that volume side and everything? I think GBTC, however, is an ETF now in itself, like a legitimate ETF, so will be fun to trade that, as we've been saying. For the levels on this one, I mean, today was day one. Today was IPO, but the levels, you're basically watching Bitcoin. Once again, for IBIT and for GBTC, you're basically watching Bitcoin. But for levels, we're going to head over to Mara, Coinbase, and Riot, because this is where the levels kind of come into play now. This one was a big sell-off today. All of them were. Mara, Riot, Coinbase, all of them were big sell-offs. We were originally waiting for Riot at $16. Riot now at what, $13? So big monster sell-off. In my opinion, we would love to see 13 continue to hold and show some support in front of 13. But if 13 doesn't hold, is this the real sell-off event that Bitcoin has been waiting for? Is this the end of all? Is this the sell the news, and everything before this was buy the rumor? So you got to be a little careful. Everyone's a little worried, I'm pretty sure, in the cryptocurrency world with how big of a candle today was. I would expect a pretty solid inside day tomorrow, right? I'm just laughing because if you expect the stock to not have an inside day tomorrow, you're probably crazy to think the stock has a bigger room to the downside, or a complete reversal back into yesterday's high and a bigger room past yesterday's high. I just don't think that's in any realm of possibilities. I think 13 continues to hold. Someone said after hour Mara actually moved. I don't really see anything on Riot. Let's go take a look at Mara. Nothing really in the after hours, but at least we're not near the lows like Riot is, right? Riot pretty much closing into the lower days, whereas Mara bounced a lot better. Mara's actually holding a lot better in a little bit of a higher price than the absolute lows. Let's go take a look at Coinbase. Coinbase looking a lot like Riot over here, looking pretty weak into this 140 area. Coinbase has also had a lot of articles coming out saying the recent run-up that they had was very rumor type of a run-up, and they need to have some sort of a normal or a retracement, come back to kind of normal levels in some sort of a way. So I'm reading that article. I guess I should have been ready to be short on this stock, but missed out on that opportunity. Overall, how do we look for the trades tomorrow? Basically waiting to see on any pops. Do we have buyers coming in and fighting for this position? Is the market looking for a big run up tomorrow? Is the market kind of showing more rejections and the market getting ready to be an inside day? If QQQ has an inside day tomorrow, basically today was an inside day. in a way, right? Today was inside day in a way, but if tomorrow ends up being an inside day, then there's a good chance that Coinbase and Riot and Mara are a little bit more boring of a trade, and we just jump onto GBTC instead and watch what Bitcoin's doing and trade GBTC. In my opinion, that's something that's sitting in the back of my head. But if the market wants to break out higher and start going higher, then we could possibly have some fun across the board on all positions, like Apple, Amazon, AMD, Microsoft, all that fun stuff. So getting ready for that. But at the moment, my expectations are a little dumbed down. Today was a little bit of a crazy move. It would be insane to expect bigger move tomorrow. But if we do get that, I mean, I need to not be a deer in the headlights. Not be a deer in the headlights tomorrow. Real quick, I want to show you guys a stock that probably moved today because it showed up on my watch list. Marvell. Why is Marvell on my watch list? I guess it's going into some sort of a level over here on the daily chart. It's not of a bad level. We kind of broke up, consolidated for the last few days, and then broke out to the north side. Even though the market was selling off, Marvell didn't really sell off too much and then broke up to the north side into these levels. So if the market ends up looking for another move up north tomorrow, Marvell could possibly have a breakout of this area and look for a run up tomorrow. So maybe there is some sort of an opportunity over here for us to watch out for on MRVL. So let me put some notes over here on this stock. Currently watching that 66, 68 areas to see what happens on this stock. Inflection will be tomorrow. Today's high around 66 area. Stock held on the sell off today and then popped up when market was going up. Possible trades into 66 or 68 areas. So watching for a setup over there. I said today somewhere, yeah, instead of today, yesterday. So watching the 66 area, watching the 68 area to see if any sort of a possible trade setup over there. Even if we do dip back into what 63, which was today's low, right back into 63 and show us buying again somewhat in this area, I would love to see if we can get some longs into that prices over here for MRVL. Number one trade that's possibly standing out for me, and so we're gonna put down some notes for this stock. The next stock, Boeing. Boeing, you guys know how I'm kind of turned off on this position, but something that stood out to me before I went live today are these candle wicks. So candle wick over here showing you a lot of weakness on the north side. Candle wick over here showing you pretty good buying to the downside, and that's what we faced on the day trading that position. We faced that buying pressure when we were trying to short it, but at the same time, the candle wick on this side showing you still there is some selling on the north side too. And then the stock actually pops up higher, starts going north, but then that candle wick tells you that there is still selling over here, and hence we got that big sell-off event today to kind of go test these lows. Even though we did break this low technically, I don't really think we officially broke that low. I think once the stock gets under $220, then it could kind of open up some wiggle room to the downside. But until that happens, I'm gonna be a little careful, a little wary of Boeing. But overall, today's move on Boeing, no reversal when the market was going up. It did double bottom, triple bottom into these lows, and then broke down a little bit lower. So there is a decent amount of selling pressure that kicked in, especially when the market was going higher. That kind of stood out to me. These candle wicks stood out to me, so I am getting excited to short Boeing tomorrow, but I have gotten hurt Boeing all week trying to short this stock. So I'll be very careful trying to short this position. In my opinion, the stock needs to get under 220 properly, or at least under today's low properly for me to be interested, and that would be around 220, 250. So watching the stock around 220 to 220, 250, and it needs to properly get under this price for me to think to even think about the lows. And by that I mean it needs to go under 220, 250, maybe even go under 220, and then on any sort of a pop back through 220, back into 221, back into 222 area, I would like for the stock to pop up, consolidate just slightly under 222, 222.50, consolidate over there, show me lower lows and lower highs to build into. Maybe VWAP is also in that area. I build into that short on that pop, and then I ride it back through 220 all the way down to 210, 215, and have a banger short. That's the type of idea that I'm looking for on Boeing. This whole week though, I just got absolutely railed trying to short the stock, so I'll be very careful. Need a proper setup to short for me. Bearish under 220 totally. So I'm gonna put exactly what I said in my notes over here. Need a proper setup to short for me. Would love for stock to flush under yesterday's low and even 220, then pop back up, show lower lows and lower highs, maybe even reject of VWAP to get into and ride the stock back through 220 or lower. So that's my notes over there on Boeing. Priority for this one, we'll probably put it on the blue scale just to kind of trick my mind to not try to force a trade into Boeing, but it is a little bit of a higher priority stock based on what I'm noticing on this stock. Quickly though, the volume has been dissipating on this position right back into average volume area. The first day was 40 million, second day 15, next day 11, next day 9. So we are dying down pretty quickly on the volume scale over here. So that's also a good way for me to kind of trick my mind to not force a trade over here. So I'm just going to be a little bit careful by putting it on the blue color side. Next stock for me over here on my watch list, Unity. Unity kind of breaking this range low. Not really a range, honestly, but I guess you could call it a range, right? Breaking this range low, getting ready to maybe push back into the earnings VWAP. So watching to see what Unity happens, but overall not really too excited to make a trade on this one. Unless the only real trade I'm looking for this stock to do like is a repetition of what yesterday happened. So I'm gonna put it in my notes. Looking for a repeat of yesterday, repeat of today is Thursday, repeat of Wednesday. Stock drops into yesterday's low and pops up to get into a long. Bullish above 34.50. Support 34.50, resistance somewhere around 35 originally, or let's say 30. What's that? 35s. What is this area right here? 35.30, 35.40-ish area. Yeah, let's just say 35.25, 35.30 area resistance, and anything past that is just an absolute gift for us because we could see a bigger move going into 37 or so. Exact repetition of what the stock did on this day. Would love for it to play out that way. But if it doesn't want to play out that way, then we might have to look for a different type of setup. Possible break of this low, possibly showing some rejection in these areas into pops and then flushing. Just gotta make up a whole new trade idea. But right now, in my head, I'm looking for the exact same thing. It did this here. I'm looking for this here. Let's see if that ends up playing out that way. Now, let's go to the next position, UPST. We were talking about that 3270 area. Just screwing up my numbers all over the place. That 3270 area, which we kind of broke under today slightly, but then popped right back above that area right here. Broke under it slightly down to 32.21. So let's say the $32 area is pretty important for the stock. So watching how the stock behaves all the way from, let's say, $32.50 to $32. If some buying can pop into this area one more time, maybe some longs into this trade, but it is very much range bound at the moment, so nothing really excites me about UPST as much as it does excite me about CRM. CRM recently sent out an internal letter about stopping hiring for the Slack division and its other technology division and so on. It's popping up on somewhat of that news, I guess. It's basically going into, before I'm going to correct myself, almost said basically going into all-time high, but it's not going into all-time high. It is, let me delete this line and just throw in this one over here. It did break out past this recent 52-week high area, and it's making a new 52-week high. Any sort of dips into this previous 52-week high will be pretty bullish in my opinion. So let's watch out to see how the stock behaves on the move right back into today's low of 265, and how it even behaves maybe above 265 in front of 270. 270 is very close to today's high, so I don't think it's actually holding up at 270. I don't think that's a real level, but any sort of dips into previous 52-week high, anywhere into these lows of the previous 52-week high, right into whatever that level is. Yeah, 265, exactly 265. So let's see if 265 can come back into test, and if the stock is showing you buying before 265 even comes into play, that just makes it even more bullish in my opinion, especially if the market is green too. If the market's looking to be green, CRM holding in front of 265, above 265, all of that looks pretty bullish to me. So let's see what happens on this one. If market seems bullish and stock is holding above supports, could look for some longs. Bullish above 265. What am I hearing? Hearing some ping. Oh, it's the music. I'm hearing some pinging noises. Was wondering what that is. Okay. CRM. So pretty excited to see what happens with CRM over here. Although it's not going to be a high priority stock for me. Yeah, it's not going to be a high priority of a stock for me. No, actually it's going to get upgraded to a high priority of stock for me. It is. I would like to see how the stock behaves, but it's not like a stock that's a high priority off the open. At least I don't think it is. At least I don't think it is. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It is getting a little bit of a boost of volume along with the move up today, especially with how the market moved today. The stock didn't really sell off. It looks very much like the other stock that we looked at previously, Marvell. It also looks pretty good as an anchor VWAP pinch setup. The anchor VWAP pinch coming in, breaking out, and taking it right back into the north side. That's pretty cool over there. But I wasn't really looking for that play, so I don't think I would have traded it. Overall, looking to see what happens on this stock on any sort of a pullback, and see if buying can set up. Next stock, Etsy. This one recently sold off, and today on the market sell-off, it kind of joined that party to the downside, but along with the market party to the upside, it joined that party too. So I'm a little confused at the moment, because it should look like Boeing in my opinion. If this stock is selling off yesterday on some sort of a downgrade or its own catalyst, I believe it was just a downgrade, I would like for it to show me more weakness today, especially after the market sells off, and kind of look like Boeing. But the fact that Etsy actually popped up has me wondering if more selling can pop in, and if it does, where does it pop in? And we'll be watching the stock a little closely. The stock, however, doesn't really bring in too much volume to be too excited for, so we'll be careful to see what happens. Looks like there could be some sort of a level into the $70 area, so maybe shorting the stock on pops for that swing trade idea for the stock going into 70 is possibly there. So we'll keep an eye out for Etsy, but not of a high priority for me tomorrow. Is just going to be on a lower priority scale for me, and we'll be just watching how these levels come into play. So for the levels that I'm watching will be today's low somewhere into 71, not necessarily 71. Let's see how the stock traded. Yeah, I don't really know what levels I want to put in. I'm just gonna move past Etsy. I don't think I even want to trade the stock tomorrow, but PagerDuty, I will be watching this one. This one is on the higher end of priority for me. Although we fumbled the bag on this stock today, if we do continue to hold this 25.50 area and pop back through 26, possible move back into 26.50 and then higher than 26.50, especially if the market is looking bullish tomorrow. So I'm watching this 25.50 area to see what happens on the stock. The resistance is going to be the 26.50 for me. The inflection is going to be 25.50, which is basically the low of day today, and I would love for the stock to show some buying in front of that price. If stock can show buying near 25.50, could look long. So watching to see what PagerDuty can do at that price. Bullish above 25.50. Now, let's go to a stock that's also near all-time highs, LEN. LEN, pretty much like Marvell, pretty much like CrowdStrike, did not really sell off when the overall market was selling off, but when the market started lifting off to the north side, these stocks took off along with them. So pretty good move over here on LEN. If we go to LEN on the long time chart, you see that not too long ago. Let's go to the 1 year chart instead. Not too long ago, we took we made a new all-time high. This was the previous all-time high, which is now acting as a support. Beautiful base being formed after making a new all-time high, right, on the previous all-time high. That's classic, muy clásico, or should I say, as the soccer players in I don't know, Spanish league, El Clásico, which is what, Real Madrid versus, what is El Clásico? What is it? Real Madrid versus who? Barcelona. There you go. Real Madrid versus Barcelona. The El Clasico holding the previous 52-week high, previous all-time high as the new all-time high support, and now using the new all-time high to come into as a resistance area and possibly a bigger move past that. So LEN would love to see, which was an inside day today, how does the stock behave on a bullish move in the market tomorrow? If the market's looking bullish, LEN possibly breaks out this area and rips to the north side. But if the market's not looking that bullish, then we possibly see something like this stepping up again, where we reject this area, setting up a beautiful short and right back to the downside, giving us a good $2-3 move down. So watch what LEN does into this all-time high prices of, today's high is 155, so we'll put down 155, but we are basically watching 155 to 156. 155 to 156 is our inflection. Watching how stock trades into all-time high, bullish above 156, bearish below 155. Color orange, pretty high important. I think Etsy, I might just delete it from my watch list for tomorrow, because I don't feel confident about this trade. I don't like the way it bounced off of this area. It could very easily just kind of consolidate in this price. Maybe if it pops into 75 and rejects 75 is the only idea I kind of want to trade. So I'll put that in my notes, bearish on a clear reject of 75. So I'll put that in my notes for SC. That gives me some confidence. A clear reject of 75 to 75.50 area will be pretty nice for me to kind of get into a short and then ride the stock back down. Now let's go to CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike continuing its ascent to the north side, not stopping at all. Volume is slowly decreasing. Today's candle is almost is that called like a doji? No, it's not called a doji, right? What is that? It's a yeah, kind of a doji candle. Right, kind of a doji candle, very indecisive. The body's in the middle, a nice little tail on the top, a nice little tail on the bottom, pretty equivalent tails on either side of the body of this candle for CrowdStrike. So not really sure what that means. Overall, yes, it's been on an ascent to the north side, but this stock could kind of start doing nothing in this range over here, and I don't know how important of a trade the stock is until it kind of pushes into this all-time high prices, honestly, which is not that far. We could just wait for the stock to push there. We don't have to make a decision before that. So I'll just be kind of waiting to see what happens, going into 290, 298.48, going into $300 on CrowdStrike, 298.48. And then the next right under that, I'll just put 300 to kind of keep an eye out for. Looking at what stock does into all-time high. If the market is having a great day tomorrow to the north side, you know, it's not a free fall Friday at all. It's not a boring Friday at all. I expect it to be a boring Friday. I'm just going to put it out there. I think it's going to be a boring Friday. But if the market is not expecting to be a boring Friday, the market wants to have a monster climb up to the north side, then CrowdStrike could easily go into these prices of these all-time high areas. So watch out for that trade setting up tomorrow. Real quick, as we are approaching the end of the watch list, I want to go through the wonderful chat over here, see what you guys are talking about, because I feel like you guys have been saying some cool stuff and I've been missing out. Great work, man. Thank you, Buddha. JPM about to break all-time high. I like that. Hell of a widening wedge. Coinbase is the custodian of the Bitcoin ETFs. Yeah, I'm actually wondering how that ends up helping Coinbase. You know, that probably means more liquidity in Coinbase, because they are going to facilitate these transactions. If you invest in the Bitcoin ETF, those Bitcoin ETFs in return have to go buy Bitcoin. Right? If you put in $10 into a Bitcoin ETF, that Bitcoin ETF has to buy set amount of Bitcoin, set amount of dollars worth of Bitcoin. So that means more liquidity is indirectly / directly being transferred over to cryptocurrencies. That transactions are going to be facilitated through Coinbase. Coinbase basically kind of took over as its own gateway now. So Coinbase is pretty much, if you trade the stock market using gateways and stuff and not using like a Robinhood app, you know that there's multiple gateways, there's multiple exchanges that you can send orders and route orders through, like BATS, ARCA, NASDAQ, New York. They all have their own gateways, they all have their different fee structures. Coinbase basically became its own gateway, its own exchange. And I've been calling this for a long time. I've been saying this for a long time, even before the ETF thing came out. So it's basically turning into that, facilitating all these orders through Coinbase structure means more liquidity through Coinbase, more revenue for Coinbase and fees, more partnership income for Coinbase. Everything just looks good for me in the long run for Coinbase. I mean, Coinbase looks like the next big company over here, especially with this decision that the ETFs are now being approved. So I'm wondering how that takes place. I read some articles that the Bitcoin transfer will be kind of like at the end of the day at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock or something. But what happens if the clearance is like T+1 or T+2 or T+3? How does that step into the clearance and the transfer of Bitcoin amount from the stock market ETF into Coinbase platform? How does that transfer take place? Is it just going to be one big dump at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock every single day on Bitcoin, and we're just going to see that take place? That makes it a big trading opportunity on cryptocurrencies at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day. That makes it a big trading opportunity at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day. I don't think that that's smart at all. If that's what they're planning to do, it should be more automatic. There should be algorithms that deal with this automatically. When you do this, do that. When you do this, you do that, and it should be smooth. It should be seamless, right? It should be clean. If what I'm reading and they're telling me, or this could be absolute guesses and estimates on Twitter, people are just talking with each other and just absolutely throwing out theories most likely, but they're saying that it's a possible dump from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That means millions and millions of dollars that traded on 11 different ETFs all will just transfer at the same time in 1 hour and on the cryptocurrencies. I don't think that makes any sort of sense. I don't think that's efficient anyway. But I'm looking forward to see what happens over there with Coinbase, with the ETFs, with how much volume now comes into cryptocurrencies, how much of more money Coinbase is generating through revenue, more daily active users most likely on their next earnings reports. Not the coming earnings report, but the next one after that. So very, very bullish indications for Coinbase, in my opinion, honestly. Very, very bullish. But however, we were just talking about CrowdStrike. We're just going to have to wait for this one. UAL, only reason this is on the watch list is because Delta Airlines and, only Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines is going to have an earnings report tomorrow. UAL nicely, properly took out a previous kind of resistance over here at $44 and is looking to trickle to the north side. So if Delta Airlines has a positive earnings report, maybe UAL could use that as some sort of a leech and break out of this inside day today and look for a bigger move up north. Just a possible trade idea. I'm not really looking to do too much with these positions. AAL looking to break out of said trading range over here, kind of do what UAL did, but hasn't done it yet. It's that 1465 area. So you could possibly watch these two stocks, especially if Delta Airlines comes out with a positive earnings report, right? It could propel these stocks. Propeller engine, propel. They're both airliners. Where do I come up with this shit? But it could possibly propel American Airlines a little bit further than this resistance area, kind of sympathy trading them. But why not just trade Delta? Keep in mind though, Delta has its earnings report tomorrow at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. The next few stocks, ladies and gentlemen, it's our Apples, it's our Amazons, it's our Googles and Metas and so on. All of which, honestly, I don't think we can expect too much on these stocks tomorrow. Expecting a pretty inside day on the market. Maybe some fun moves on Microsoft, Nvidia, because they are in better ranges. Nvidia near all-time highs is basically at all-time highs. It's creating all-time highs every day as we're talking about this position. Microsoft pretty much made a new all-time high today, and then pulled back a little bit with the overall market, but still not too much of a damage on this position. It's still up 0.5% on Microsoft. I mean, QQQ is still up 0.2, even though we are calling it damage. SPY is a little bit red on the day. I think SPY was down like 0.3, 0.4 or something. The idea is I'm not expecting the market to do too much of a bullish move tomorrow, and the reason is because the small cap is nowhere close to what the large caps are doing. So the 2000, the Russell 2000, it's 2000 stocks over here. They are being a little bit weaker, but let's see how the market plays out. Let's see how the market plays out tomorrow. If the market's looking bullish, you can basically go long any of these large caps except for Tesla. Be careful with Tesla. You can basically go long any of these large cap stocks. They're all at beautiful levels. They're all at wonderful prices and areas to actually think about some trades, except for Tesla. Tesla has been getting beat up for some reason, so be careful with Tesla longs. If the market's looking weak, jump into those Tesla shorts. If the market's looking great, jump into the Nvidia longs, jump into the Microsoft longs. Basically, what I'm telling you is look for the relative strength, which is Microsoft, which is Nvidia. You've seen that relative strength in these stocks recently. They've clearly shown you that relative strength by taking out the recent highs, and look for relative weakness if the market's weak, and that's going to be the stocks that are selling off even when the market's making a red to green move back-to-back days. And that's going to be your Teslas. That's maybe your even Netflix. I don't know if Netflix had a red day today, but no, Netflix had a green day today. So look for those red stocks out there and smash them on those opportunities if the market's looking weak. For time periods that are important tomorrow, aka the economic calendar, looks like 8:30 once again. Today was pretty important at 8:30. We had multiple events coming out at 8:30. CPI, continuous jobless, initial jobless. It was basically a lot of numbers, a lot of details coming out at 8:30. Tomorrow looks a little bit important again. We got the PPI numbers coming out at 8:30, but besides that, nothing else. Fed member Kashkari coming on the mic at 10 o'clock. That's looking like a pretty important event. That's a 2-star event, most likely giving some notes on the recent CPI number, about the fact that the inflation rose to 3.2, a little bit higher than December or something, or the inflation rose a little bit higher in December because consumer prices grew a little bit up. Yeah, I think that's what happened. But yeah, overall, the numbers came out, didn't really look too good. That's why the market flushed initially, and the market with the monster reversal back to the north side, it's almost like it never really happened. Nothing really matters. The bulls are here, and they are... I was going to say something really bad. The bulls are here, and they are absolutely charging the market to the north side. However, today was the day for the bears to eat on cryptocurrencies, and boy did they eat. Everything past Fed member Kashkari looks pretty boring to me. This WASD report does have a 2-star event, so possible move on the WASD report, but 8:30, 10, and 12 are basically only main events for us tomorrow to keep an eye out for on the economic calendar. Let's go take a look once again at the wonderful chat, see what you guys are talking about. Most financials are kidding it. JB, Oxy is proving to be one of Warren Buffett's better investments. Yeah, I mean, What is he now? 36% in that stock? 36, 37% in that stock? He's doing good. I think forward-looking statements from the earnings call will be incredibly important. Okay, for the banks you're saying that are coming out tomorrow, a lot of which have their earnings call but fuck early in the morning for some reason. By the way, GS is technically now a bank. GS trades and have been front running earnings for decades. Goldman Sachs, yes, it's a bank, but it's like what, an investment bank, right? Ooh. If I had good news on my earnings, I wouldn't want the C call first. I am pump that stock up, baby, says Josh. Okay. Josh saying pump C. C basically looking a lot like JP Morgan. So I would love to see what happens on those earnings plays. We have 12 watching and only 7 likes. Hit the like. Thank you, Blind. Thank you. Only 12 watching though. Oh man, I'm a dead streamer. We used to have like what, 30 people, but that's also at the height of me getting fired from Trader TV Live and everyone wanting to know what happened. It makes sense. I'm trying to grow this community, and I love the fact that you guys are here every single day supporting me. I just don't know how to grow it properly. Maybe it'll just take time. It'll take time, and we're here. We got all the time in the world, baby. We got all the time in the world. Reading through the chat over here. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Yep. Boeing puts BTC futures soared this week. BTC futures soared this week. I mean, died today. Boeing is toxic. Something is wrong with its price. Performed. It's a void. It's something stinks. Yeah, that's what I think on Boeing. The price action is, I don't like it. And I got burnt twice this week already. That's enough for me to not get burnt again. You know, appreciate your insight. Thank you. Appreciate your view. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you coming by and looking at these charts with me every single day. Love you guys. Large selling on some big sold today on the BTC ETFs. Yep. I would take a look at all around 200. Not sure for buying on Boeing. 200 buying could come into play. You're not wrong. 200 is still pretty, like $20 away on Boeing. So if you're telling me 200 is going to come into play for buying and we're at 220, I would love to short 220 for that $20 move on Boeing, right? I would love to see that $20 move. I went long Nvidia this week, and boy, did you print on Nvidia. Let's go. Nvidia was a monster long past that 500 area. I mean, $48 in the money past that 500. So shout out to anyone who took that long. And the question is, where does it end this week? Does it go higher than 48, or does it go right back to 500? I don't think it goes to right back to 500 in one day. No way. But it'll be interesting to see what happens on Nvidia tomorrow, without a doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that pretty much marks the end of the stream. We talked about my watch list. We talked about all the stocks that are on the board for tomorrow. We talked about possible expectations for the overall markets in general. We looked at the economic calendar. I didn't really find a video for us to watch today to learn off of, so probably just gonna call it on that note. Hopefully you guys had a great day on the markets once again. Real quick, I'm just gonna give a shout out to all of my watch list stuff. As you guys know, if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so. You get some extra perks by doing so. So feel free to go check it out on Patreon. You can subscribe to all of their social media stuff, such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, which is where I'm mostly active on. So feel free to go check out all those links in the description. And last but not least, feel free to hit that like and subscribe. The stream is sponsored by Trade Ideas, TraderSync, and Benzinga. Shout out to them. Thank you for everything that they do for me. Without them, my trading would be garbage. I will see you guys next week. Have a great Friday. Have an even better weekend. Spend it with your loved ones. Spend it with your family. Go hug them. Go kiss them. Whatever it is that you guys have it planned, do it safely. And come back to me Monday, 8 o'clock. We're here every single day, Monday to Thursday, 8 o'clock at night. I will see you guys then. Ciao.